Hey guys, welcome back to D&D. I'm FilthyRobot, joined today by JoINrbs, Tsuihousha, Xilo, and Ricky. So if you guys are regular fans of the series, a couple new people on, and you can probably notice that we don't have Solitaire or Galg with us today. Just a heads up, we are having some roster changes in the D&D as a whole. Scheduling issues for Galg and Solitaire have meant that we're no longer able to keep that party intact. So we're going to be doing 2 weeks of one-offs with Sui as a DM with this group here. And then we're going to be transitioning to hopefully a slightly more permanent group with a new DM who we'll introduce when that comes along. So it's a bummer we're not going to be able to play with Solly and Galg anymore. Some really good games with them. But hopefully still keeping the D&D content coming, and as well a new group. So if you guys don't know, JoINrbs is another streamer. I've worked with him in the past a little bit with XCOM 2. This is his first D&D experience. We're popping his cherry. I guess it's not live, we're recording it, but I'm not editing, so it might as well be live. Live, you get to experience it, see how it treats you, see what you think, and we'll be curious to see how it goes. So, why don't you tell us what we're doing today, Sui?
Alright, well, why don't we start by going through the characters? I can't see. Oh, you're not streaming it, you're just recording it, so I can't see the overlay. So let's just go around and have you guys say who you guys are real quick, and then I'll give a brief little prologue.
Go right
about
to left.
What's happening.
So go Ricky, Xilo, JoINrbs, me, and that would be fine.
Alright, Ricky.
Okay, so for this session I will be playing Fesilo, who is Fallen Aasimar, level 14 wild magic sorcerer. It's gonna be really interesting, so a lot of magic.
Tell us about wild magic for the people who aren't real familiar with that. What does that do? Tell us about how fucking awful this is for your party.
Okay, so after each spell, DM can make me roll immediately a d20. If I on this d20 roll 1, I will be forced to roll another 1, but because of my level 14 I can roll 2 d100, and there is special wild magic search table which will specify which other spell will be cast, which can be good or really bad. For example, I can cast Fireball on myself or do some crazy shit.
So to get this straight, we're playing a game with you as our teammate who occasionally will just AoE nuke us.
Yeah,
Possibly.
you can.
Maybe.
Excellent.
There's all sorts of random. There's
Get
all sorts
away
of
from
random
me.
stuff.
It's great.
Hopefully-
It's great. There's a class here that sometimes just randomly screws you. Roll the dice. All right, cool.
Hopefully, at least one time, there's some craziness with that.
Yeah.
Ideally, you don't go through an entire one shot without some.
The
Tell me
chance
you
of
did
it
something really
happening
awesome
is
too,
really
like
low.
built him as like a melee tank, where you're deliberately trying to get the fireball to hit you from time to time. Tell me something. Actually, don't tell me that. We'll figure it out. All right.
There's like 20 or even more than 20 possibilities what can happen after it, and the
Yeah,
chance for it
there's
happening
a
is also really low, so we will see.
Okay. Xilo?
Okay, so I'm playing Ulisef, the drow, a sorcerer that I played last time I was in a one-shot. He's the same character as before, except he's also level 14, because we decided to start at level 14 to try and make this as convoluted as possible for JoINrbs as possible.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, yeah. So, once again, he has one level fighter, 13 levels of sorcerer. He is a Red Dragon Disciple. He wears armor, he has a shield, he doesn't use any weapons, he casts spells. He likes to fly around and cast fireballs.
He's an evil drow too, right?
Yes.
Yes,
He is
he's an evil
drow.
drow.
Gotcha.
Neutral evil.
And he's partnering up with this fallen Aasimar, so a drow.
I am also kinda evil.
Right.
Yeah.
So, fallen
Not
Aasimar.
exactly by choice, but it happened.
Oh,
You kind of took the lazy route to evil. You're saying.
It is what it is.
His background is so sad.
All right. Well, we don't have time for that. This is not a role-playing game. You don't know
Right.
this. This is a number crunching game. This is basically a spreadsheet that just we interact with. No,
Of course.
I'm kidding. We'll hear more about the horrors as we get going. JoINrbs, you want to tell us about your guy?
apparently I'm neutral good. I just found that out. So I am Navio Star, a wood elf
Is that your porn
barbarian.
name or your real name?
That's my character's name. My porn name. I'm not going to tell you my porn name.
All right.
Um,
I think that's fair.
I'm
So you
a
get to know us.
barbarian rogue ranger. Apparently, I can jump very high. I figure the narrative is that once upon a time, this guy was very good at killing enemies and monsters and stuff, and then like he had some sort of brain issues or some horribly scarring experience, and now remembers absolutely nothing. But I still have the abilities, and it'll be interesting to see what I do with
You're
them.
like the Jason Bourne of the D&D world, you're saying.
Perfect.
Except also like possibly wheelchair bound. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what I do.
Didn't he start paralyzed as well? I think this
Oh,
sounds
did he?
really reminiscent of that.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I've never seen any of those
Start,
movies.
No, I
started,
think it was
shot.
just like no, I think it was just like amnesia or something.
No, they
anyways.
pulled him out of the water with like. Anyways, okay, yeah, we'll leave it at that. All right, sounds good.
All right, and Filthy.
I'm playing continuation of the last two one-shots I played a ranger in one and a archer fighter in the other, and this character is kind of the bigger, older brother of those. It's the combination of those mechanics. I've really been enjoying the bow classes recently, playing around with those a lot. My character's name is Goran Quickshot, and we'll be doing a lot with archery, ideally. Not a lot of backstory for these. These are one-offs. They are often very combat-oriented, and so he's got a narrative for us. We're going to jump into that. There's not a lot of depth behind these characters because they don't exist for all that long. I'm really excited about it, though. I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens with Sui's world. So I think we can just get to it. Yeah.
All right. Here's the quick version, Prologue. It's the third age of the planet, the material world. There hasn't been a global catastrophe like the one that's currently happening, or regional catastrophe. It's hard to tell, Can't really get from one side of the world to the other instantly, for most people at least. The weather has been going fucking bananas, and that's an understatement. Volcanoes are erupting, there's constant earthquakes, the sea has dropped 15 feet, the plants are all dying in certain places and going crazy in others, and nobody can figure out what the fuck is going on. So all the kingdoms, the major ones, have called a temporary truce and sent all of their best scholars to neutral ground with a bunch of really old tomes to try to figure out what's going on. And they finally got some sort of a vague idea. So one nation sent the two pairs of you, because Navio and Goran are representatives from one nation, and Ulef and Fesilu are representatives from another, and they're both escorting diplomats to figure out what's going on, and then hopefully these four individuals will somehow solve the problem, because they're all very well-known, renowned, powerful entities, and they all own land and have a bunch of titles. They're basically one step under actually being royalty themselves.
Okay,
And-
so we're escorting diplomats. I gotcha.
Yes. All right, and
Realize
that's
I have,
where
I have Ricky's character's name wrong on the overlay. I'll fix it in between sessions, but for the first session, you have an S in the front of your name, not an F.
It
That's
always
fine.
happens with me.
Something about
With
your
Erin,
face.
it happens too.
Sorry.
It was Wolf Elf, I think.
all right.
Well, I
So-
apologize.
That's the prologue opening scene here. God, I'm gonna have to read your names because I just got to half of these today. Ulisef and Felisu, you guys and your diplomat Andros just arrived at the encampment, and it basically looks deserted. The sky above you guys is gray. You can see red off in the distance on the horizon from coming down from the mountains, and in the opposite direction that you came from. If you turn around, you can just see there's a black sheet of rain that's been pouring for a few days at this point. There's a single fairly large tent, but you can't see anyone around it, and there's 3 horses outside hitched up to a horse hitch.
So it's intentionally out in the middle of nowhere because it's neutral ground?
It's neutral ground, yeah, because they didn't want
Okay.
anyone messing with anything.
Yeah, I could see it being a bad idea to bring a bunch of hostile or like semi-hostile mages together right in your capital city. I could see that being
Right,
pretty
like,
fucking stupid.
Like, nobody wanted to let the other people into their territory, so they
Right.
decided to do it somewhere in the middle of nowhere in case you guys ended up killing each other, that there would be spillover and destroying innate cities.
Okay,
So,
how many
that's that.
how many other like diplomats and groups are we expecting at this meeting, roughly? Like 10-ish?
Yeah, between 6 and 12, there were invites sent out, and only about half of the nations responded.
Okay.
Because, like, pretty big crisis. There's a lot of shit going on. People are hungry. There's rioting, all that kind of stuff. People think the world is ending.
Okay.
Basically.
Gotcha. And we came here on horses, I'm assuming.
Yes.
And we don't see anyone outside of the tent. So
just some horses.
all right. Well, then just get off the horse and walk inside the tent. See what's up.
All right. So when you two get inside, there's a fairly long wooden table, and Doran and Navio are sitting at the table, looking their respective elven and I'm actually looking human bodies, and there's also another fairly portly looking fat human with them, which you can easily identify is the diplomat.
Okay, so it's only the 6 of us in this tent.
Yes, currently.
Okay. Well, hello, everyone. Are the other folks joining us anytime soon? Either of you. Or the diplomat.
Well, I assume the diplomat's in charge, right? I mean, we're sent here escorting them.
Oh, that makes
Some
sense.
kind of guard, so...
Yeah, that makes sense.
My assumption was that my assumption is he would do the responding, because I'm mostly here to make sure he's safe.
Ah, right.
I'm just sort of haughtily drinking right now. I sort of not.
This diplomat is sitting at the table eating because he's that kind of guy. And when you ask the question, he pulls down this turkey leg and sets it down, finishes chewing what he's chewing on, and says, "The scholars should be back shortly. They went to go get some water, but if you would like to take a look at their scrolls, they should be down on the other table down there. No other representatives have showed up yet, and we've been sitting here for a good 8 hours, so I'm not sure if they're going to or not."
So the scholars just disappeared, and you didn't bother to look around for them or question where they went?
He said they went to get water.
They said they were going to get water at the creek. They
For
left
8 hours?
half an hour ago. No. I meant the other diplomats haven't shown up in 8 hours. The scholars have been here all day. They've just been gone for about 30 minutes. They should be back shortly.
Gotcha. Okay, well then, since we're expecting the scholars, I suppose just sit down and wait for them to arrive, since that's what we're here for.
I want to eye Yosef and whatever your fucking name is as they enter the tent. And
I feel like we're going to get a lot of that. It's all right.
Fezelu, sorry. Fezelu?
That's it, yeah.
Fezelu, okay.
I'm having a cloak, directly, I'm blocking the vision on my eyes so you don't see directly in my
You have
face.
the cloak pulled up over your eyes.
So you're doing one of these.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say, I can see you, right? Looking directly at you.
I'm aware.
Huh. And
Oh, Ricky, with the excellent social interactions.
I noticed right off the bat that you're drow, and I say as much, and I say, rare to see drow up on the surface.
Oh, yes, well, it happens occasionally, but you surface dwellers can be useful to work with occasionally.
Do you have any, I know we're just the bodyguards, but I can't help but be curious when the world is ending around us. Do you have any sense of what this is? Any knowledge to bring from deep below? Is this something similar happening down below, or?
Well, I haven't been to the Underdark in many decades, but I can assure you that at least this time around, the sky's burning isn't my fault.
All right, I'll laugh at that and just go back to kicked back in my chair, boots up on the table.
All right.
So what has Andros, our diplomat, like said anything, done anything?
No, not at all. Actually, he's literally just like standing in the doorway, looking at this human with contempt. Andros is an elf.
Okay. Since nobody else is here, did we just like arrive early or on time for the meeting?
You're unsure. You can't really see the sun in the sky because there's so many clouds and shit, and it's been like that for a couple weeks. So there's not really a great sense of day-night anymore. It's just kind of all like a hazy red sort of thing. So you're not really sure.
Be a vague time period to arrive. Anyways,
yeah.
These are people traveling by horse to a location from multiple areas. It's not like going to be there at like 4 p.m. on X day. It's going to be whenever they get there, right?
Yeah,
right.
It's gonna be like try to arrive within a couple day span probably. So, all right. So
I will sit down then, waiting.
Sure.
So wait, is Goran the elf?
No.
And
I'm the
okay,
human.
okay.
Navio Star
Navio is
with a 4 instead of an A is the elf.
Got it. Navio, the parkour elf.
What kind of elf? Like high elf or?
Zord elf.
I'm a famous elf.
Pretty sure he's a wood elf.
That too. All right. So you guys sit down, and I assume after some amount of minutes, you probably start eating or getting something to drink or something, and then at that point, the scholars come back in, and there's a lot of them. There's probably like 20 guys.
Whose mic is that going right now? Is that you tapping, Sui?
Yeah, it was me tapping.
Okay,
I shouldn't do
really
that while
loud
you're
on the mic.
I shouldn't do that while you're recording. I've got a really powerful mic. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Just want to let
really
you know.
bad. Yeah, it's good. It's good you let me know because I would have just kept doing it and ruined your entire recording.
Okay.
So about like a couple dozen scholars come back in, and they're all like lugging a wheelbarrow with like a barrel inside of it full of water. And they get back in and they see that somebody else has joined, and they turn to Andros, the diplomat, because he's also clearly the diplomat. He's pretty lithe and not really. He doesn't look like a warrior. Basically, he looks like a coward. So they turn to him and they say, "It's good to see you, Ambassador. Please come sit down. We've got a lot to discuss, and I'd rather go over everything individually with everyone before everybody gets here, and then hopefully we can save some time that way, and we can come into a consensus about what needs to be done." And he agrees,
Okay.
and walks over with them to the far side of the tent where they've got scrolls laid out, and like there's like some wax sticking a couple papers like up against one of the posts that's holding the tent up, so on and so forth. Looks like there's a lot of information over there.
So, I'm not 100% clear on this. Just to clarify, Sui. So, these are multiple nations representatives being gathered here. The scholars, though, are not part of the multiple nations. The scholars have been here for some time, and
the scholars have been here for some time trying to figure out what's going on
now
from
they've
the other
called
nations.
some diplomats in to give them some sort of summary /
Yeah, they've called in a bunch of diplomats to get the say-so to figure out what the hell they want to do, or if they're going to do anything at all.
Okay.
So.
All right.
It's very scientist meeting at the UN.
Yeah, and it's like it's a bunch of like people working at NASA or scientists at the UN or whatever who don't give a crap about their nation states at all. They just want to figure out what's going on because they're scholars and they don't give a shit.
Uh-huh.
So they're just doing work, and they need diplomats there to actually take charge and like figure out how to come up with a plan and institute the plan to do something, and make sure it doesn't go over budget. Because scientists and scholars are notoriously known for going over budget.
Oh, I see.
Every
Then
time.
diplomats are here to make sure they don't go over budget. Is that why they
Yeah.
have to get their own water instead of trying to solve the problems that are fucking the world? They're hauling water. All right.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
And they also have an idea already. So they start hurriedly talking to this diplomat Andros about how they've unanimously come to the decision based on like 3 different scrolls that they found referencing an event in the first age from these 3 different kingdoms in like old languages, not like the modern languages you guys speak, about how that there was when the world, like the first age is like basically right after the world was created, and up until that point it was a very inhospitable place until the civil war in the elemental plane was put on pause. And until now, everyone had assumed that, like, or either forgotten or assumed that that was not actually reality. It was just kind of like a fantasy. And the descriptions of what is in these scrolls kind of matches what's going on right now. So they think that there's some sort of something going on in the elemental plane that is causing this issue with the mortal plane.
But they're not sure which of the elemental planes.
No,
Just
they're
some
not.
kind
They're
of
not. They're not sure what's going on. But based on like what they're seeing, based on what they're seeing and based on the notes that they've read, it seems analogous to like an all-out civil war between all of the different factions of elementals in the elemental planes, because they don't like Okay, how do I say this properly? They don't overlap one another in the same space-time the same way that like the mortal plane and the elemental plane does. They exist like in the same.
They have borders.
Frequency.
And
Yeah, they have
conflicts at the
borders, and they are all like, it's like nation states in the actual mortal world, kind of. It's a single plane, but there's like different areas in.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Said.
So the elemental plane is another plane independent of this plane, but there's regions in that plane that are, I assume, like attuned to an element or something.
Yes.
Okay. Got it.
Think of it kind of like going to a different dimension.
Yeah, it's all the same frequency.
It's like going to Maui. You have like the volcano area, you got the tropical area, you got beach area.
Pretty something like that. And they think that there's something going on that's causing the elementals to not be chill anymore, which is a very scientific way to say it.
And that bleeds into the mortal plane?
Yes. The elemental plane is very close to the mortal plane. They tell you as they hear you ask the question overhead. And
It's
at
not
that
very specific.
no,
There's not a lot to go on.
It's not at all. And they say, we don't know what's causing this. We don't know what stopped it in the first place. But the only way I think anyone's going to figure out anything is if we can figure out a way to get there and actually see for ourselves what it is that's going on. The only information we really have is based on third-hand accounts and like really old scrolls. There's no one alive right now that we could find that was alive, 30,000 years ago. So,
And to our collective knowledge, there's no one that we know of that traverses the planes.
give me
History?
history, probably. Yeah, history sounds right. You have heard of it being done, but you don't personally know the names of anyone who's done it. Like, there's fables about people who have done it in the past, but
So the fact
those
that
are fables, apparently.
I hate to be that guy, but the fact that Felisu can, whenever he wants to, go to the astral plane and back,
Well, that's the astral plane is different,
Okay.
so to speak. Like the astral plane is something that's actually understood. It's something that people can like meditatively go to sometimes
Gotcha.
if they train for long enough, or can see into. But nobody currently
knows about.
nobody knows it. Nobody know it. There may be people alive who have gone to the elemental plane and back, but nobody knows of anyone specifically who has done so.
Okay.
There's no like popular high grade warriors or anything that have ever done so that are living currently. Well, there are fables of people who have gone there and done the underworld and stuff in the past. You know, like
What's Navio doing as we have this conversation?
I'm still drinking, thinking about my agent back home.
Are you paying attention? You kind of zoned out.
No, I'm paying attention.
You are
Planes
paying
walking. It sounds like, so I'm into tightrope walking. And is that similar?
I think that question is definitely addressed to Ulysses.
Ulisev does not does not respond to that.
I kind of smirk as he says this. As if I'm totally understanding where he's coming from this, and then he's taking the piss out of you a little bit. So I got boots up on the table, a satisfied little smirk on my face as Navio's mouthing off over there.
all right. Well, so the scientists and scholars continue to speak to Ambassador Andres, and then your Ambassador Koff, that the human walks over, and he says, "Yeah, I'm not really sure what any of this means myself either, good sir." To which Andres responds, "Seems like someone should probably do something about this. I don't know how much longer we're gonna be able to wait here, given the effects that this is having on our world." And
there's no identified like problem that we can go to and do something about, though. It's just a question mark.
And I'm doing fine. I eat well.
It very much is, and I'm glad
Kind
you.
of under my breath as this conversation going on, say to Navio, "If the world dies, the chicken supply runs out, though."
That is a good point, and there is one piece of literature that we found. There is supposed to be a waygate here somewhere, but I'm not precisely sure what this means. It's almost in the form of a riddle. It says between the two rivers and on the top of the great mountain, but there's no geographic location that matches this description anywhere in the known world.
I say, I interrupt a little bit because I'm not real thrilled with these diplomats, and I say, "It sounds like you need some poor fool to go scout out the elemental plane."
To which they turn back and say, "Yes, that would probably be the ideal way to go about it. I'm not sure how else we're going to get a handle on what's going on, or even begin to figure out how to stop it."
Sounds dangerous.
Well,
Sounds fun.
that is why we brought you, I think.
Brought us? Oh, I wasn't volunteering. I was just trying to help find a solution. Oh, is that why we're here? I thought we were escorting you guys.
No, of course not.
Huh.
That's a bit silly.
So you want me to go into the unknown elemental plane where no one's ever come back alive, and shit's going down, which is causing this. This is the fallout of whatever's going on there. So whatever's there is probably worse, because this is just the after effects. And you want me to go with this chicken eating idiot over here, and I point to Navio. A rogue drow, I point to Yosef, no offense, and Mr. fucking hiding behind my own fucking skirt over there. And you think this is gonna help the world?
Are you scared or something?
Ooh. So the ambassador Andros turns around and Koth just kind of like stands behind him looking up because he's about a foot shorter, and he says, well, we don't have any other ideas.
Okay, fine. So where is this place where the Waygate's at? Your riddle wasn't particularly useful.
I turned to the drow and said, I have some property to sell you. You seem like the type of man who discerns well.
Well, I haven't anything yet.
I want you all to give me a intelligence check, please.
Intelligence.
You say to the sorcerers and fighters.
How do I do that?
Yeah, right. You click on intelligence on your sheet.
Just click on
And
the
just
word
normal roll?
Yep.
Okay, there you go.
Why was mine an intelligence save and yours was an intelligence?
Because you probably clicked on...
You clicked on the saving throws word intelligence. I meant to click on the word like above the. It doesn't matter though. See, Yulisef, you're fine. So Yulisef points out that maybe it would be a good idea to look at some maps of actual
Holy shit!
historical maps instead of modern maps.
What is it called when you rearrange?
Sorry,
I'm going to interrupt, and this is a totally inappropriate interruption, and I really hate it when people do this. I'm going to do it anyways. What happens? What is it called when you rearrange the letters in a word?
Anagram.
Yeah, Yulisef and fucking Fezalou are anagrams of each other.
What are the chances of that?
Oh, you know
they're
this.
backwards.
They are. Look at that.
Huh.
Interesting, isn't it?
Look at that.
Nothing gets by me. Anyway, sorry, go on.
And Goran was the name of my first wife.
That bitch.
In character or out of character?
Anyway, so Yulisef, this when they say when you like stop to think about it and they say I have no idea, you have the thought that maybe they should try cross-referencing maps of like destroyed landmarks instead of just the modern maps, because this was a scroll written like a long time ago and not today.
Okay, so wait a second. So a powerful sorcerer with 10 intelligence just came up with an idea that's better than the collective intelligence of all the scientists of the world.
We are smart, man.
You don't have common sense. Is he focused on the problem to think of something right in front of him? You've never had that? Look,
And they have to secure funding. Yeah.
Look, don't dig into it too deep. It's a one shot.
Okay, all right,
8 hours to prepare this whole campaign.
All right, okay.
How about I so for the last 100 years, I've just been chilling out, running around, jumping on things. Surely I've seen this place.
Jump over things shortly. Anyways, okay.
Yeah, well, that's what I do. Highest mountain or whatever. That I was slacklining on that last weekend.
Well, I think this was the point. That there's nothing that meets this criteria around here because this isn't what the terrain looks like anymore. It looked like this when the scroll was written. So this is probably
Which
just
was
some
more
little,
than 100 years
bump.
ago.
And you wouldn't even bother jumping off of it because it's just a little tiny bump.
I have a feeling that Navio caused this when he jumped over that mountain.
Well, why don't you give me a history check, Navio?
A what check? Sorry.
History.
Nice. Good
Terrible roll.
Hey.
No, you don't remember.
He doesn't remember his own personal history with that.
No, you don't. You just start thinking about eating some more chicken legs. You're all about that chicken right now.
I literally
love
pass him the
history.
plate. As soon as he someone asks him a question, I see his eyes blank, his fucking gaze goes slack, and his jaw open up, and I pass him the chicken.
It's perfect.
It's good chicken.
Anyway, to respond to Yulisef's point that maybe you should try thinking about things like not an idiot for 5 seconds, they all this gaggle of scholars just looks really, really, really embarrassed because they just didn't even bother to try to think about that at all. They were so focused on the problem and trying to figure out a creative way to solve it instead of just thinking about it for 3 seconds like a normal human being. And they say that is probably a very good idea. Why don't we check some maps really quickly?
That sounds great. Why don't you guys go check on that, and afterwards we'll talk about compensation.
All right. So they start pulling out scrolls and just all of them just like collectively like going like looking over old scrolls of old maps before the terrain had changed because the terrain changes a lot differently here because magic and stuff than a normal planet.
Okay, I'll wave my hands. You go on. Okay.
What?
Oh, for the explanation. You never heard of that? You just wave your hand. Never mind. Okay, don't worry about it.
No, I've never heard of that. What are you talking about?
Hand waving, it's called. Like when it's like when you're trying to bullshit, or like when you're trying to fill in details that you don't have really the information for. You're just like,
look, I'm just hand waving it. It's fine.
As I said, I'll do the hand waving. You just keep talking.
They're figuring it out.
Yeah.
They're figuring it out. So they didn't even bother hearing the word compensation. The scholars all just got immediately back to work, and then the diplomat Andros turns to Yulsef and he says, "What do you mean compensation? The compensation you'll get is the honor you'll feel to serve our nation."
Oh no!
I start laughing and I literally tip my chair laughing. I fall out of my chair laughing at that.
Be a dexterity save.
Festival will just like chuckle to that.
You catch yourself. You start laughing so hard that you're like tipping back in your chair and like you fall out of your chair, but you like roll backwards and land on your legs.
And I stand up still laughing and I fall against the back of the tent.
All right, you got it. You're laughing really, really hard, and Andros looks at you with the really, really sour look on his face,
which redoubles my laughter.
Perfect.
I take Garen's plate of chicken from his chair.
All right, got it.
Are you eating this? Okay, so in response to Andros saying that, Ulisef says, "Oh no, you must be confused. The Prince Regent, before we left, paid me and Felitsu quite well just to escort you here. I'm quite certain that we'd be compensated by the kingdom once again if we were to go to some end-of-the-world type location."
Roll a deception test.
A deception?
Yeah.
I like the sound of that.
What are you lying about?
Well,
probably the amount.
Okay, I'm fine with that. I sort of figured that we would have actually been paid a little bit by the government to escort them.
I mean,
maybe.
Probably some token amount, yes.
That was a 6 roll, by the way.
I know, I did a 4. It's nice being high level.
Yeah, right.
It's like the passive number you would just pass the falling out of the chair, because I think that's 10 to pass.
Alright, you kick the shit out of him. He's just like, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. Why don't you and I sit down and we can write up terms, and the rest of you, why don't you come sit down here too?
I stop. I'm like, I mean,
as a matter of fact, Koth, why don't you join me? I'm sure that if we're going to be paying this group of adventurers here to go do something, all the nations that show up should be pitching in. Yes.
What's our nation called, Sui? The nation that Koth is from? Give me a name, any name.
Filthy Koth.
Filthy Koth. We'll say it the nation of the filthy ingrates. And I'll say the great nation of the filthy ingrates surely will not be outbid and outdone by the rival nation of the dirty elves over there. And I say this to Koth.
Alright, roll me a deception test.
I hope it's a good one. Oh.
Easy game.
Easy game, easy life.
I hope it's
like
wisdom characters.
He kind of doesn't say anything back loud, but he kind of does one of these and goes, "You're right."
That's right.
And then they go sit down at the table with the 4 of you and start coming to terms.
I've been drinking for a while at this point, and I just say, I'll do it for free.
I kick you as hard as I can under the table.
I mean, people are gonna look to someone who was a hero right now.
Again.
And I mean, Navio's always been the hero, I guess.
When was the last time when you were the hero?
Hey, that's fine, man. Role play the hero.
Why are you referring to yourself in the third person? It's very odd, Navi.
Oh, It's odd for Navio Star to refer to himself in the third person. You must not know Navio Star.
I say to Kaf, I will take his share for safekeeping until he returns to his right mind.
All right, this sounds good enough to me.
Excellent.
And then they keep going at it, and you sit here hammering out this contract for like 5 hours or something because you're all just trying to milk it as hard as you can, and all these nerds are just not figuring anything out until eventually the candles are start to burn down a little bit, because there are candles inside. It's a fancy place. They got candles.
I mean, we are basically just waiting for the scientists to come up with a direction for us to go.
So you're all just
ourselves, quite honestly.
Yeah, you guys are just messing with the ambassadors and like just milking it and like saying you want like this specific like weird title and all sorts of like stupid crap or whatever.
Some privileges, yes.
Yeah, like all sorts of just like weird niche stuff. And then one of the scholars comes up. He's a pretty portly looking gnome. You'll notice that all these scholars and these diplomats are all kind of a little pudgy or fat because they don't do anything. They just sit around reading and eating. So one of them comes up and he pulls up a map and he says, "I think this is it, right here."
Okay.
He points to a location on the map.
Okay, so what is it exactly? Could you be a little bit more specific?
So he goes on to say, and I'm not going to do this in character because I don't give a shit about this gnome at all. He's a scrub. So he goes on to say that there's a river about 80 miles north of here that used to run next to another river that had dried up, and it is now like a river that's running next to what's the word I'm looking for here? Divot, like a
plateau.
Opposite of plateau, like it's like a sunken area,
Ravine.
Ravine. There's like a ravine, like another mile away from that, and the location should be somewhere he thinks between the two of those places, because it's the only place that he could find that even remotely matches what he would think, and he's corroborated the fact that this ravine used to be a river, like X amount of years ago.
Why do you think that's the place?
And there's a waygate here? A physical structure or something that we interact with? How does this work?
Yes.
I mean, I can walk into that area and scout it out, but if I don't know what the hell to do when I get there, I'm just going to be sitting 80 miles from here getting paid for it. And I'm fine with that.
It should be quite distinct, and it should be giving off some pretty significant magical energy, especially now, given the fact that there's so much energy from the elemental plane leaking into our world as it is.
Well, Navio's our resident magical expert, and I turned to him and said, "Would you be able to detect something like that when we get there?"
No.
I kick him under the table again.
What do you mean, no? Someone has to be able to do it. How about you, Drow? Can you do it?
Yeah, I would bring the wizards.
We don't have any wizards.
Maybe. We don't have any wizards.
What are you guys good for, then?
Sorcerers are like almost wizards. Instead of like studying stuff, they just like will it to happen.
Intuit it.
Yeah.
You just wink it.
It's all natural. None of it's learned. That's all just natural skill.
All right, I suppose we can escort these sorcerers to this point and see if they notice anything. But if not, we get paid either way. When do we leave? I'm ready to go now when I stand up.
Well, how far is this? Like
80 miles.
Okay, so you said 80 miles?
Yep.
Oh, jeez.
You guys have horses. It's not that bad.
What do you make? How far do you think you travel in a day on horseback?
About 16 miles.
16, 1/6?
Yeah, 1/6.
So it's 5 days travel.
On bad terrain, it's about 16 miles a day on horse.
So we're
and that's going at like a pretty like leisurely pace. Like if you rode the horse to the point that the horse was going to die, you could probably make about 35 miles a day.
Well, we better get started. 5 days travel from here.
And I don't know what
like-
magic spells you guys have.
Sounded like 2.5 days travel to me.
Bring 2 horses and just switch on the middle.
No, I don't think that was his plan. But, all right.
Well, I could. It's a way too loose of a description to be able to teleport there, so we'd have to go in person.
Yep. Okay, let's pack everything and.
All right, and I double check one more time. I have that the contract has been signed, and there's a serious sum of money in there. Independent of whether or not Navio comes back alive. And
Yes.
all right, everything's good in there. I've got his share taken care of as well. Yeah, he signed that over to me, and also independent of whether or not he comes back alive.
Yep.
Okay.
And you're also getting a title like Master of Roses or some stupid crap like that. You're going to be the Master of Roses.
All right, it's extreme, and I have asked for a coat of arms for my new house decorating for me. It's just extremely vaginal.
Yeah, it's very vaginal, and there's like flowers on the outside.
Perfect.
It's everything you could ever ask for.
Then
You've probably already got that coat of arms though, because you're a pretty important dude. So you own some land. You probably have a castle or some shit somewhere.
All right. Well, then I say, well, I must serve my country, and for honor, I say, and I stand up.
And lots of gold.
I don't know what you're talking about. That's not my motivation. I wish to save my kingdom, my country, and this world as a whole.
Sure, if you say so.
Didn't sound like that, like a few minutes
And
back.
then the gnome says, because all the other scholars are still sitting over there trying to find out whatever it is. And he didn't bother to tell any of them. He says, I don't give a crap about that. Just hurry up and save my ass.
All right, Ulisef wants to take the map, by the way. The map that the gnome brought out and showed it to us.
Yeah, the gnome doesn't stop you when you reach for it.
I take a cursory glance at it, but I'm confident I can find the way.
All right.
Cool.
All
right. However, we've been about an hour into this session. I think this is a really good transition point. So, Sui, we're going to take a quick break here. All right, guys, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next part. See you soon.